Attention now over though to your X30 seniors because their Super Heat 1 is now out on track.
Right, let's have a very quick run through this grid then of 36 drivers. It's the same situation, half of them currently in the top 36, the other half trying to continue their weekends. Front row of the grid is Zach Drummond and Danny Carinini. If Drummond wins this race, he'll be on pole for the final. Andy Rattel and Matthias van der Kerkhoff on row 2. Toby Gale and Jack Buckley row 3. Roxanne Lantinga and Vivienne Guillonet on row 4. Then Ty Buckley and Daniel Britz completing the top 10 on row 5. Caspian Hogman and Noel Sundbergen on all Swedish row 6. It's then Otto Prikkinen and Alois Girardet on row 7. Gabriel Still and Tobias Norman are on row 8. The last two inside the top 36 as things stand. Row 9. Daniel Motor and Max Radek.
Row number 10 goes alongside Marius Barryberg with Matthew Higgins, a driver that qualified 106th overall, finds himself inside the top 20. From 11 we have Arthur Huang with Patrick Ogrodovchik, and then from 12 it's Oliver Stadler with Marlon Bayer. 13 sees Thomas Hansen and Alex Pinera, and then from 14 it's Donovan Bonilla with Andre De Bija. 15 Dylan Patel of Great Britain with Noah Mengel, and then from 16 it's Peter Mamelstead with Aaron Weeder. 17 Santiago Alves with Robin Happener, and 18 Sam Lewis with Adria Mastines.
A big grid, a quality grid here. You've got some race winners, big race winners in the second half of this field. Can Drummond secure pole position for the final? We are not going, by the looks of it, red on our screens. We have our first falsie of the day. It always happens, doesn't it, Nicole, when we've got to rattle through a grid and then it's a false start. So it gives us a bit of time to discuss the different prospects in this race. So Drummond, I say, it's the very straightforward scenario. Win this race and he'll have pole position for the final. It is a 12-point advantage, though, for Drummond over Garcia. So, you know, if he falls down the order, that could open the door for this year's Miami Euro Series champion. It's been a while, of course, since Zach Drummond has been on a finals day in an IWF competition, all the way back to 2021 when he was in the minis and he got all the way to the final in the top 10. He's done many things, of course, since then, including lead at a time in the early stages a World Championship final earlier on this year at Kristianstad. So in terms of the nerves, I think he's going to be fine. Let's have a quick update, though. Anthony, what can you see out there?
At least it wasn't me with the commentator's curse this time about the false starts, but I could tell you that that's from the back of the grid. Just not formed up there in the mid to back pack. A little bit late on the old power, struggling to actually get the power down. It seems to be a common trendsetter this weekend for some of the seniors, but hopefully this time around it should be all good.
I'm sure it will be all good. Looks like everyone is ready to take this start. You saw Matthew Higgins pulling into line there. Done a lot of overtaking so far this week. Can he rescue his weekend? As you say, Nicole, was outside the top 100 in timed qualifying after problems all the way back on Wednesday. Steady pace into the tram lines then. Once again, it's a 16-lap race upon us here in a superheat in the seniors. Away we go, and then quite a steady start from everybody in the front of the field. Drummond will lead into the first couple of corners. Carinini knows what to do here. Slots into P3. That's not a bad thing to do at all. Tommy Hansen's in trouble. Hansen has had problems straight away, so that's a driver who was outside the top 36. He will not go any further. Oh, it's round there. He's one of the kids to win machines. That's Mustienes. Mustienes will not make it through. He had an amazing start because he was right at the back of the field going into turn 1, but then it's all gone wrong through turn 3 and 4. The Winter Cup winner here in Valencia from 2024 will not be in the final.
No, it's a shame for Mastines then, and it's going to be a shame for so many drivers within this field. All the drivers that started behind that 10th row have got to put some work in this race. They've got to leave everything that they have out there on the track. Out on the front then, as we've seen from him time and time again this week, Zach Drummond leads the way, but he is joined closely for company out there by Andy Rattel, Danny Carinini and Toby Gale. Van der Kerkhoff is on the back of this fight as well. He's right on the tail of that Birrell driver, sat in P4. Toby Gale then has been consistent this week, was caught out with some bad luck, caught out with technical gremlins, but I think the help, the assistance of a big name in this sport, Pedro Hilbrand this week, has really helped to keep Toby in the sharp end of your field. Now, Drummond dances around onto that white line, holds onto things, actually gives Danny Carinini a bit of an opportunity behind him to go for the move on Andy Rattel, but Carinini slots back into a comfortable P3 for now. There's battling going on then, down the inside. Rattel tries to give it a go, clips the curb, but has to think against it. That could have ended in disaster.
Sorry for cutting across you there, Nicole. That was nearly a very scary moment through one of the fastest parts of this course. Rattel is determined here to get down the inside because, again, if Drummond doesn't have a good finish here, the chance to be on pole is still open for a number of these competitors immediately behind. Carinini through into second place. Carinini does like this inner field, it's this infield section, this sector number 2, where it gets tight and twisty and technical, particularly through turn 7. So not a surprise to see Carinini particularly strong on this circuit. He took the checkered flag first of all when we started the year back at Winter Cup. Didn't keep that victory. A technical infringement meant that he was disqualified from that race. But that aside, we know he's got genuine pace. Been confident all week. Here's the battle for third place. Gale now ahead of Rattel. That's a nice move from Van der Kerkhoff down the inside. Out of the race is Santiago Alves. Another one of Portugal's hopes looks to be gone, and out of this one. Started this race from row 17. Will go no further in this competition. Let's look at this. Carinini leads. Carinini's taken the lead of the race in the early stages of lap 4.
Well, Danny Carinini and Zach Drummond met each other on the front row when we went racing at those green lights. Now they meet each other once more through lap number 4. Otto Pukkanen trying to charge his way through the field. Pukkanen, another driver who did not have the good time qualifying that is normally required in an event like this. It was P45 for Otto, so that's why he down there in P20 is trying to pick off some positions, but for the time being has lost 7 so far as retirements go out there already within this race. Down the back straight these drivers will go. Every single one still thinking about Danny Carinini out there in the front. Zach Drummond just has fallen off the back bumper ever so slightly through that past lap. I think he's trying to find a rhythm once more. Drummond is a clever driver. He's a driver that finished off his FIA European season in a strong P3. He knows that the task in hand now is push away from Gale, Van der Kerkhoff and Rattel, and then go for the race lead. Anthony Jordan is down there. Anthony, what can you see?
Well, I think you called it there just a second ago, Nicole. Santiago Alves there, heavy damage to that rear bumper. It had just flicked up itself, was rubbing on the rear wheel, and unfortunately for the driver from Portugal, there is no chance of getting into that final.
Well, you're going to see that for so many drivers. They will not manage to get into that top 36. Over 150 seniors entered this race, and it will be whittled down. But that's racing. It's a tough sport. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's going to happen to so many big names. And big names in this one that could be in trouble. Gabe Stilp, because of qualifying, being caught out with a chain snapping, no fault of his own, is another driver that's going to be nervous throughout this race, currently sat there in P15. These drivers just replicating each other lap after lap, bumping and dancing over those curbs. Is now, that's a bit of a spanner in the works. Zach Drummond, P2 on the road, P1 in your points, is now under investigation.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise to see. I'm not quite sure what it is for, but the officials have spotted something they would at least like to have a second look at. Just been doing some maths, as we like to do in this commentary box. Second place right now, obviously the UI notification hanging over Drummond at the moment. Second would be enough to take pole position for the final. He would be more than 90 points ahead of Garcia before Garcia goes out for their super heat, so 92 points ahead to be exact. So Drummond at the moment still on course for pole in the final, but we'll wait and see what happens with this investigation. We will give you news as and when we receive it here in the box. Meanwhile, 2 by 2 by 2 in the top 6 of this race. Jack Buckley on your screens there for the Big Barrett Racing team. 2 red and white liveries, one with a little bit more white on it in front, of course, for the MBR team. Monlau Motorsports, Toby Gale there in 6th place. I've been really impressed with Toby Gale this week. I Nicole, you mentioned earlier, obviously he's got a good amount of coaching from Pedro Hill. Pedro knows this circuit very well, of course, and has had some wins earlier on in the season. And that training seems to be being put to good effect down the inside there on Buckley, up to P5.
Well, I've also been quite impressed by Buckley as well, driver that's in P6, a driver that is, of course, part of the Mick Barrett racing camp. He's been really consistent this week for me. You know, he's been a name that's been in the sharp end of the order. He's not really tumbled down the order at any stage within this one, and now he looks like he could be on for a good result, as could be Jack Buckley as well, who's currently sat P7 in your points. Ty Buckley is sat 12th on the road. Jack Buckley is P6 and is P7 in your points. Further down in the order, Roxanne Lantinga trying to get her elbows out to maintain that P7, as behind those drivers, Renee, Sundberg, Brits and Buckley, Ty Buckley, that is, still just trying to decide those positions inside the top 10.
And just noting as well, Higgins and Bayer both look on course for qualifying for the final. They're working together nicely, as here is a move for one of the CRGs. Through goes the 313 of Girardet there. French driver gaining another position, and we'll next set about the Irish senior X30 champion Jack Buckley, who won that title again on the Emerald Isle earlier on in the year. We're on lap number 9 then of this superheat, into the second half of it. Danny Caronini still has the lead of this race. At the moment he's going up to second place in the points, which of course carried over from yesterday. Greater distribution of intermediate points in this race this morning. Rattel having to deal with Van der Kerkhoff now. Buckley coming back at Gale. Girardet and the 297 there. Now, I wonder if it's the 297. No, apologies, I got me Buckley's confused for a second there. That was Halgman behind Ty Buckley. So that was all over 11th and 12th positions. Lap number 10 then of this race. It's settling into a rhythm. No major dramas in the top half of the field, so pretty much everyone in that top 15 should be going through, Nicole.
Hagman and Brits then have switched positions, and as have the drivers there for P3. We have got this battle between Rattal and Van der Kerkhoff going through, and that is going to start to invite Toby Gale back into things as well. There they are then on your screens. It is the Victory Lane driver that is ahead of the KBK, who's on a double campaign, who has had to do twice the amount of work compared to anybody else in the field competing in not only the senior X30 this weekend, but the S125 as well. Van der Kerkhoff then holds on to that P3 quite comfortably, with the overtake on Rattel. Has not thrown Rattel off the tracks at all. He's unbothered. He's still very much there. Going back to some of the battles going on further back, Matthew Higgins started this weekend 106th overall, was then promoting up the order, but I've now noticed he's tumbled down the field back to 32nd. He was looking like he could have been on a charge to get into that final to qualify, but now I'm questioning, is that going to be possible for the driver from Great Britain?
He's out, Nicole. Matthew Higgins, as you say, down in P32, started this race on the 10th row of the grid, was on course to get through to the final. It's happened for Higgins again on a finals day in an international karting competition. This reminds me of what happened in Kristianstad to him earlier on in the autumn at the World Championships, where I still say he would have been a factor in that race if it had not been for a technical problem on that day. But Matthew Higgins, one of the early week favourites, has not been able to make it through to the final. Sadly, will not be able to repeat the strong result he had in Zweire last year. This scrap for third place is still going on, and a credit again to Toby Gale. Toby Gale, over the last 4 or 5 laps, has been able to rejoin. Sorry, I just got very distracted there. There was a fusion kart going
Patel.
for it was Bonilla. Sorry, no, I think you're right. It was Dylan Patel. So Bonilla's had a problem. Patel in the 230. Oh, it's the teammates. Oh, dear me. So that's what happened. We saw the 230 out of our window, pretty much cutting off the whole of the infield, and the reason why was Bonilla, teammate, spinning off directly ahead of him.
Well, rule number 1 is don't crash, but rule number 2 is don't crash with your teammate. So I wonder what's going to go on between Patel and Bin Nia then shortly as they head back to Park Fermi and back to that awning. Let's focus on the front end though. We have got that change between Toby Gale and Andy Rattel. Is this the stage, and Andrew, you know, that for Rattel things start to become more and more difficult? Driver fitness is going to come into play with this one for Rattel. He's doing 2 classes. Is he now going to start to fade away?
I think it goes one of 2 ways. Well, it can only go one of 2 ways, can't it? There's the argument that we've been doing this all week, and being a Frenchman, I will compare this almost to the Tour de France, that when a cyclist gets to stage 10, stage 11, you're just grinding through the pain at that point, and you almost...
You become numb to it.
Yeah, very much so. But as you say, it is warmer out there today than it was previously in the week. The wind has died down a little bit, but it was strong earlier on today. I've had a report from one of our camera operatives out there that it's been windier than Snetterton Circuit back in England today. So
that's saying something.
That is saying something. We're on lap number 14. Here's your race leader, Danny Caronini, doing a fantastic job out front in the 222 Sankey Motorsport machine, and is going to be given Aaron Garcia a bit of a job to do here, because this will be a gain of points, 90 points onto Danny Caronini's score. We spoke about him at the start of the week as when I spoke to him after his time qualifying, and he'd had a bit of a tough time. He was down in 27th, 28th place before the final lap of qualifying. Brilliantly brought it back, had pretty much 1 lap to get it done, and recovered back to have those row 4 starts for the heat. And I just spoke to him and said, Danny, what happened there? He said, oh, well, you know, these things happen in a qualifying session. But he was very relaxed. I asked him, well, how do you feel? And he said, we feel really good about our dry weather pace. It's been dry across the continuity of this race weekend, apart from a little bit of rain at the end of day 1 of competition. And this is going to be another result, I feel, Nicole, that is going to just remind the rest of the field how good Danny Caronini is. He's a previous winner of this race, of course, back at Adria in 2021. And in a scary way for the opposition, he seems to be getting quicker and quicker as the week goes on. Retirement for P2 Malmstead.
Yeah, that's a shame for P2 Malmstead, who it looks like will be another driver we will not see out in our finals later on. We heard the driver in P2, the 313 of Drummond, say earlier on in this weekend that Danny Caronini is a name within this field. Everybody knows Danny in Miami Racing. They know that he is a big name in the field. And here he is completing this final lap as your race leader. Drummond, P2, Van der Kerkhoff and Toby Gale there on your screen, still having a look at each other for that P3. But for now, the victory lane of Van der Kerkhoff holding that 3rd position in his hands. And in the hands of the Italian of Caronini out there in the front. Heads down that back straight, looks over his shoulder to the Fusion driver, knows that he's not within lunging distance, knows that only 1 more corner is left for him to go out of the final turn, and Danny Caronini has done it. Takes an X30 Senior Super Heat win, has done it. They're out in the front. More points to his name, but more importantly, I think for Caronini, confident. He's going to go into that final later on knowing he is a name to beat.
Absolutely. Speed and longevity of that speed across the course of that superheat takes the Italian on the Italian kart for the Italian team through to a race victory in Superheat 1 for the seniors. Zach Drummond, as things stand, has secured pole position for the final. That 2nd place adds another 80 points to Drummond's total, takes him to 371. His closest rival, Aaron Garcia, is 92 points behind that tally before the next race begins. So unless there is a change post-race for Drummond, he will be on pole position for the big race later on today. And talking of the big, that's what Danny Caronini said he was going to give us. We're not quite sure what the big is, but it definitely is very effective. Caronini wins by 0.8 of a second